This is East Carolina Defense Coordinator Blake Harrell, and you listen to the Sports Objective, the official unofficial podcast of the Pirates.
Well, the summertime, we're getting ready for football, and one of our favorite people in all of Pirate Nation, Bubba, we're on the show right now.
Absolutely, Dave. Over the last few weeks, we've been catching up with the East Carolina football coordinators, and right now, welcome into the show for the first time, Donnie Kirkpatrick. Coach, how's your summer going?
You know what? It's going pretty darn fast. I gotta say that, but it's going really good. Didn't have an opportunity to spend some time with family the last couple of weeks, and that was really, really enjoyable. And I'm back in the office this week for most of the week, and it'll be a little bit in and out next week. But players are here; they're working hard. Big John's excited, and I know the whole Pirate Nation's excited. So I am as well.
Coach, do you have anywhere you like to go during the summer? You mentioned spend some time with family. Do you like to go to the beach, to the lake?
You know what? I'm a beach guy, though I'm a mountain guy as well too. But I love the beach. That's kind of my happy place there a little bit. We've always gone to Hilton Head, which we were lucky enough to go spend some time down there for a while. And then my son, who coaches at Brunswick Community College now in baseball world, lives in Wilmington. So I kind of just crash at his place a little bit too from time to time, and that's like a vacation when you're down there living in Wilmington.
Coach, I was up in we went on a little vacation up to the mountains. So I was up in Boone about 4th of July week, and I tried to get a scouting report for you. I got nothing.
Well, that's another one of my favorite places. Having spent a lot of good days up there on the mountain. Met my wife up there, so I guess that was pretty good there. That was the best thing about all of it, meeting Misty, I guess. And so we do love to go back to Boone. Boone's only about a 45-minute drive from my mom and dad, and I am going for the weekend to see them. My dad, ex-high school coach, Hall of Fame coach, 90 years old now. And my mom just turned 89, so we are going to go up there for the weekend, and we, if we can, we may drive them up that mountain and go up there and find that cool air a little bit for the weekend even.
No doubt, Coach. One of the things I wanted to ask you is you sound well rested, because I know the month of June, you can't talk about the commits just yet, but you guys were really, really busy. I'm really happy to see some sense of normalcy when it comes to one of your favorite things, to recruit.
Recruiting obviously is probably the most important thing, a college coach can do. And we're off to a very good start. You're right. The month of June it just went with this year, though, a year unlike any other year. And a lot of rule changes and some opportunities, though, to catch up with some visits, official visits, unofficial visits that included workouts, which were for the first time ever allowed. And then we had, I think, somewhere right at 1,300 young men came to camp, one camp or the other, between a 7-on-7, a big man's camp, or just a prospect camp. So June was every day, all day long. It was just all you could get, and but we kind of did a nice job in there, I think. Recruiting staff led by Derek Miller just did a great job of keeping us organized and keeping an itinerary for us, so we knew where we were supposed to be. And this place will sell itself if we can get them here. And so we were able to get them here in June. And you're right, that's why July, we had a couple of weeks there off a little bit before we get back, and everybody's feeling pretty rested now, I think.
Do you feel like you guys are stepping up recruiting? Or maybe that's not the right word. Do you feel like you guys have taken your recruiting to the next level, or whatever term you want to use? It seems like first couple of years under Coach Houston, I've done a great job recruiting, but it seems like this year so far that maybe you get some guys to say yes that maybe wouldn't have in year one.
I think that it's just the trend out there that kids are ready to commit a little bit earlier. Kids were ready to get out. They were ready to go make visits, because 20-some months nobody could go off campus, or nobody could come on campus. So I just think, that they were there. They were ready to go. They were ready to say yes. I think that the facilities here have improved. There's still a few more stages to go, but John Gilbert's done a great job of working with Coach Houston to upgrade the facilities here. And it's a lot of things that people don't see. Everybody sees the Town Bank Tower, which is magnificent, no question about that. But, the players don't really go to the Town Bank Tower very often. That's really not what the players see. The upgrades have been done in the weight room, which was fabulous at one time, but had really began to get behind a little bit. And that's been, upgraded again. The office space, the meeting space, the team rooms, and all that stuff have really had a great upgrade. The players' lounge, the locker room, the things that the players spend their time in. And that's what you show the recruits, because that's what they're interested in. And so I do think that part has definitely taken the next step. I think we have a very good recruiting staff, a very aggressive staff. It's a good blend of a bunch of old timers like Shank and myself in there with some young guys that like to go hard, can go long, like that a little bit, and actually enjoy the recruiting part of it. And I just think that, right now we are off to a good start. The biggest challenge here, and I know this from the era when I was here before with Skip and Ruff, is that we'll get these kids and we'll find a few of these diamonds in the rough, as they're called, that maybe somebody else has missed. But as soon as we get them, then all of a sudden they start getting calls from these other schools. And so now the process of holding on to them until we can get them officially signed is usually the biggest challenge. And I think that's probably what it's going to be this year as well.
Coach, while you can't talk about the 2022 guys, obviously, let's talk about the current roster before we dive into the specifics and, go position by position. I know Coach Houston has said in multiple interviews this spring and summer, as far as guys just being bigger, faster, and stronger throughout the roster and pretty much deeper at every position. If you would talk about that on the offensive side.
Well, I think he definitely would be saying the same thing that I would say there. I think in the 2.5 years or whatever that we've been here, our kids look much better. Rick John's done a great job, he and his staff. We did have a setback, I think, last year, in that with the pandemic, the kids got sent home for spring break and never really came back until June. And then I think the hardest thing that happened to us last year was we were scheduled to play that week 0 game against Marshall. And so we were in a little bit of a hurry to get to the football part of it, even more so because we had to play a week early. We had to report for the official camp. So it really, really paid a price on their lifting and their running and their conditioning. And we did have a couple of issues with some guys underweight and just maybe not up to what we hoped they would be last year. All that's kind of seemed to recover right now. We've had a great year and the kids look really good. I was out watching them lift and run this morning with Coach Weaver, who was also in. And we both were looking at each other and said, wow, a lot of things have changed. The kids really are starting to look like some of the better teams in the league physically right now. So the other thing is we've just added a lot of personnel, I think, to our team. Offensively, when we got here, we didn't have a tight end. We had to talk Jeremy Lewis, who they originally had recruited to play defensive end, which now he is, oddly enough, there at defensive end again. We had to talk him in as a recruit when he come over and play tight end for us. And we were just trying to find anybody we could to play tight end. Now that room's full. We need more chairs in that room right now. And so that room's really been upgraded, I think, with Ryan Jones coming in, adding to that. We'd added Zach Bird before. Aaron Jarman, who's a local product that played at Temple, has come in. We're really excited about seeing what he can do. And, even Brian Gagg, who came here as a quarterback, has done some nice things at tight end. So, you throw that in with Shane Calhoun, who was a true freshman last year, who had a tremendous year. That room is really, really upgraded. And I think the offensive line would probably be the other room that we've really, really tried to get better. I think this is probably true everywhere, but I know it's always been true in the years I've been at East Carolina. When we've been really good, we've been good up front. We've been good on the defensive line. We've been good on the offensive line. That was not the case when we got back here 2 years ago. We just could not match up with the teams we played up front. I think we're getting closer to being able to do that. So still a couple of question marks up front. Noah Henderson, his back issue is really, really improving, but I'm cautiously hopeful or optimistic that he will be able to play and make it through a season. That'd be a huge bonus if we would get him back. to add to that offensive line. But, Justin Chase is kind of slotted in there at left tackle right now. Noah could come in and would compete with him. Avery Jones, who we brought in last year, ended up starting all but one game. We've moved him to center, and I think he's an NFL center. I think he's an all-conference guard, but I think he's an NFL center. So through the spring, that really started to show some dividends in there for us. With Fernando Fry being out all spring, but he's back. He's going all the way full speed right now. We had to play him at center last year, and that really wasn't his position. He had to do that for the team. We'll be able to move him back to guard. He'll be able to play both guards. So we've got, with Nashad Strother, who we're excited about if we could just leave him at one position. He had to play like 4 positions last year. I think his guard is his natural position. Sean Bailey being able to come back with the COVID year. So we got a little bit of depth up there on the offensive line. And then we're really looking to have a really good year out of Bailey Malkovic, who was one of the guys the pandemic, I think, really, really hurt because he had really lost so much weight, not being able to eat here on the training table and not lift and being that consistent program. He's got his weight back up, and he looks fantastic.
Coach, you talked about the tight end room. You referenced several of those guys, Calhoun, Jones, Jarman, et cetera. Some obviously different skill sets mixed in that group. Just talk about them and what they bring to the table individually. You kind of started to go to that direction a moment ago, but you really have some nice flexibility and some good options as far as the personnel groupings and being able to use 2 and 3 tight end sets.
We do, and you're exactly right. We have a very versatile, different type of player group in there. You have Aaron Jarman, who we've added, who is the prototypical tight end, hand down, attached to the line of scrimmage, really an extension of the offensive line, just an excellent blocker. Not to say that he can't be a receiver, because he can, but he's not the type of guy you're going to flex out. He's not the type of a guy that you'll probably try to get down the middle of 2 deep. But he's the guy who can run the typical type tight end type plays. I really think will add something to us in the blocking world right there. You have Ryan Jones, who is more the newfangled type, hybrid type tight end, who really is a wide receiver that just has really, really good size. And you want to play him as a tight end so that the defenses will defend him as a tight end, because he's a total mismatch for those type situations. If they put a linebacker on him, he's just too fast. If they put a corner on him, he's just too big. And then if they put a safety on him, it's a little bit of both right there too. So that gives you totally 2 different kind of players right there. Zach Bird's a little more like Aaron Jarman, I guess. And then Shane Calhoun really is the guy that is a little bit of both. He is the prototypical tight end, but he is also a guy that's a little bit better of a receiver, can move around. And so it does give us a lot of flexibility that we can line up in what we would call 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends. We could be in 4 wides. We could be in 2 tight end sets. We could have a pro style type offense with a tight end fullback type guy, and the defense won't really know what we're trying to do. So I'm really, really excited about the versatility that room is going to give us offensively.
And Coach, as far as that very thing, one of your friends, Rick Smith, said one time on Pirate Radio, I'll never forget, a couple of years ago, he said, if you can't run the football and you can't stop the run, then you're probably not going to win a lot of games. It looks like right now with the running back position, and then we're strengthening that tight end position, that room, looks like you're definitely speaking for the offensive side of things. You guys are going to do even better running the football this year.
Well, I think Rick, obviously been around many, many years, and I think he's a wise guy. And I think that, he would fit in well here with this staff and Coach Houston, because we do believe that to be true as well, in that even though the game is become a much more wide open game, a lot more offensively minded game, running the ball doesn't mean you can't score a lot of points. It just means that, you're going to establish your fastball, and then you're going to throw your sliders and your changeups off of that. So that's kind of what that is. The passing game, the hardest thing to do in college football is drop back pass. It's hard to block the defensive line. It's hard to have college offensive linemen that are good enough to block those athletes. And you don't want to get in those drop back situations. You want to throw drop back passes on first down and when you want to do it. You'd like to dictate that. So, if you run the ball, you can play action pass. That's always been the best way to throw the ball down the field and create big plays, is when you can fake the run and get the defense to suck up, and then you got a chance to get behind them or even get the ball down the middle in the intermediate deal. So the RPO game's a huge part of that, the run pass option that everybody's talking about. Again, all that's great, but you got to be able to run the ball to do that. And we are talented at running back. We've added to that room as well, and we'll continue to be able to get better at that. I think the other thing is, I just think if you don't have the ability to run it, even though you may throw it just as much as you run it, and we're very balanced, I don't know if you can ever close the games out or not. You may keep scoring. You're going to keep giving the ball back to the other team, but you can never really close games out. And if you can't score, then you can let them back in. And so to be a championship team, we're going to build it around the ability to run the football, be tough, be physical, impose our will on other teams. Like I said, a lot of that's got to do with being good up front, offensively and defensively. But the tight ends are kind of an extension of that offensive line. So, yeah, Raj Harris obviously had a tremendous freshman year. Keaton Mitchell, did that as well. We think they'll be even better, in year two. They probably didn't shock us because we thought they were good or we wouldn't have recruited them. I'm not sure we knew they'd be that good that quickly.
Coach, talk about the additions to the coaching staff on the offensive side. Saw some turnover there, and made a couple of good hires, I think.
Well, we did. We were very fortunate. We lost two great football coaches, which that's just part of the business. And Darrell Sims, who had been with this group of guys all through the James Madison era right there, and had just done a tremendous job, and just had a great opportunity to go take another job, and it was just a lot more money, and you just can't blame a guy, especially a young coach, who's going to go do that for his family. And then Fontel Mines, which just obviously his was a little bit of a different situation. It was more of a family deal, moving to an area near family. His wife had lost her mother, and she was an only child, and there was some issues there. So that was really tough when we lost two coaches that were a big part of who we were. But we were very fortunate to be able to hire Latrell Scott, who's got a world of experience, and that he's fit in just perfectly with the staff. And he brings some great things and some new thoughts, which we're always about trying to evolve a little bit. And then Chris Foster, who may be the best running back coach in the country, to be honest with you. So we lost to what was the second best running back coach in the country. I think we got the best one. So that really was good on our part. And we were very fortunate that he was available. And he's just fit in so well with the staff too. And so anybody that knows how we do things offensively knows that we've got a little saying that, everybody has to row in our room. Nobody rides for free. So I make them all ante up a little bit. I just got to feel like five minds are better than one. And so nobody gets to sleep in the offensive staff room. We make them come in there. They've got responsibilities, and they got to bring something to the table. They got to bring some ideas, but they all got to fit together. They can't be five just different things going all different ways. They got to be five, guys working together, understanding the philosophy of how we're going to do things offensively. And it's meshed really, really well through the spring practice when they got here and through this summer. So we're very, very fortunate.
Now, you mentioned Coach Scott coming over, bringing in some new philosophies. If I saw right, has he got the title of passing game coordinator?
You know what? I think he does. And so obviously we've made him get on that board and draw a few things up there a little bit. The Trails had we've kind of used him uniquely a little bit in that he's come in as the tight end slot receiver coach, but we've kind of gravitated a little bit more toward just really the slots and the outside guys all kind of working together. And Latrell's got good experience as a tight end guy, but he also had a lot of experience as a wide receiver coach. So we've really used him for both of those. We're very fortunate that we have a couple of good GAs and an analyst. Aaron Ara also works with the tight ends. He's a young coach that had come here from the University of Georgia, and football family. Grandfather's a coach. Dad was a coach. Dad played in the NFL. Got a brother that's going into business as well down at the University of Georgia right now. And so we're able to lean on him and use him for a lot of different work, the drill work too, so that the trail can kind of swing back and forth between the receivers and tight ends.
Coach, I remember back in the day when you were inside receivers coach, you only had to work when we played at Tulane.
That's a funny story. That's a good one there. Yes, true. Because we didn't play Houston, I guess, down there, and when they were in the indoor, when they moved to the outside or whatever. We had some pretty good inside guys, as I remember.
Yeah, there was a couple good guys. Harris, Hardy, a couple guys people might have heard of.
Yeah, he and Zay did okay, and Dwayne Harris wasn't too bad either, I guess, as well. So or Bryce Williams. So yeah, we've been fortunate here, I think, at East Carolina to have always attracted or found some way to develop some really, really good receiver, either be tight end or slot receivers or outside receiver type guys. And I feel like we're getting back to that again. The receiver room is really got a lot of competition going on right now. I mean, everybody knows about CJ. CJ got off to the great start as a true freshman. And, a lot of people have made comments that he had a down year. I don't know that he had such a down year. It was just all such a weird year. He did fight through some injuries a little bit more year two. You're a little bit more of a marked man year two after you have that freshman year. So, your freshman year, you have the luxury of you're not getting maybe the best corner. You're not getting any double coverages. They don't know who you are. In year two, now that you're getting all that, you're drawing that attention. And they still led our team in touchdowns. He still, I think, led the nation in catches versus man one-on-one coverage and some things like that. But CJ has had a tremendous offseason. He's lost some weight. He's increased his quickness a little bit, and a little bit of his speed too. And he looks very healthy. It looks like he's ready to come back. And you got Audie, who has shown the signs of doing it. He's kind of become the leader. We're looking for him to have a huge year with the loss of Blake Pro. Somebody else has got to step that up at the other position over there. Right now, there's some good battles going on with Josiah Hatfield, who we've moved from inside receiver to outside receiver just to get a little more speed on the outside and just try to get him involved because his role has been play behind Tyler Snead. And it's just hard to take Tyler Snead out, so he doesn't get enough opportunities because Snead just don't come out of the game. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you try to take him out and he just won't come out, so he just never gets tired.
Yeah, and he's so small, you can just kind of miss him on the field and forget he's in
well,
there.
You really could. Fortunately, the quarterbacks don't miss him too much, so he finds a way to play big. So yeah.
Coach, I love hearing that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Bob, I was going to make one more comment about receivers. You mentioned about CJ, Coach, and some people thinking he had a down year last year. A good friend of ours and someone I'm sure, Terry Gallagher, former wide receiver at East Carolina, Pat Dyer, pointed out to me that this is CJ's first spring. He came in and played as a true freshman, and then he didn't get a spring ball last year. Hard to believe this is CJ Johnson's first spring practice.
Yeah, I don't think it probably when you go out there and you have such a great freshman year, and you had a couple of just extraordinary games there, especially the second part of the year. He had a little bit of a connection with Holt Naylor a little bit, and that probably helped things, because Holton just felt comfortable going to him sometimes in some of those situations. But then it really catches up with you year two when you're right. You've never had a spring practice. I mentioned Bailey Malkovic that I thought probably suffered, maybe more than anybody from the pandemic, from being sent home, from not having the training table, to not having Big John and his staff, because he's a big, tall, long guy that it's not natural for him to be 320 pounds, which is a good thing for him later in life, I guess, is that he should have no trouble to lose that weight. But he has to eat, he has to lift, he has to work out to keep that way. CJ, on the other hand, would be the other guy I think that the pandemic may have hurt the most. CJ needs the training table to eat correctly, maybe to stay lean, to stay more like a wide receiver. He needs the constant training from the coaching staff, and he needs that spring ball. He needs that summer conditioning and all those things, because he is drawing the best corners. He is drawing double coverage right now. The thing that CJ did that I don't remember, he had like 19 catches, I think, last year, which, that doesn't sound very good, even in a 9-game schedule. He drew 16 pass interferences. So 16 other times we got 15 yards, which that's a pretty good completion. You know what I'm saying? If you average 15 yards a catch or whatever, you get a 15-yard play, that's a pretty good deal. Those don't show up in the stats because the people got up on him, they held him, they roughed him up. He is a little bit of an emotional kid. I think that was some of the strategy that they tried to use to ruffle him. It did work from time to time, but I think he matured as the year went on. And I really think that he's getting ready to have a breakout explosion of a type season.
Coach, before we circle back to the running back room, I had a question or two there, but you talked about some of the receivers, Snead, Johnson, Omatosho, but touch on Taj Hudson. He provides tremendous length and athleticism, and talk about him on the outside.
Well, I love Taj. He came in, obviously as a quarterback, but with the understanding when we recruited him that he may play another position. And I really think he could play quarterback. He could play quarterback here. He could play quarterback a lot of other places. It's just that he's not going to play in front of the ones we got right now. And so he's a young man that would rather play. And that's a good thing. I don't know if we've got a tougher individual on the team than him. If it was a one-on-one battle, he would get his name drawn pretty quickly from, I think, everybody on the coaching staff and everybody on the team if it was a one-on-one battle to go out there, because he really is a competitive young man. And what he has to do, though, is he's had to really learn now the finer tools and the techniques of playing wide receiver. It's not like just in high school sometimes when you're just better than the other guys. You've got to learn to run routes at the depth. You got to learn how to separate. You got to learn how to get off press coverage. You got to learn how to read coverages to adjust routes and things like that. And he's made great strides doing that. I think he'll be a factor in there as well. I didn't mean to leave him out really, because I would never count Taji out from doing anything.
Going back to the running back room very quickly, Dave. Coach, you talked about Raj Harris and Keaton Mitchell. What an excellent 1-2 punch they are. Last year specifically, that Cincinnati game came to mind where they seemed as though they were more geared to control things in the tackle box. And then you had Keaton Mitchell that had several nice outside runs.
Yeah, I like to call them kind of the thunder and lightning type deal. I really do. I know that's an old, saying there with a lot of different backs, and maybe he's been overused a little bit. Obviously, we didn't invent that or whatever. But I do think they kind of give you that big back and then that small, quick back. Now, Raji always kind of gets mad at me a little bit. He says, Coach, you don't think I can run fast? And he's like, I was outrunning all those guys at Navy. I was outrunning all those guys at South Florida. I guess he had more long runs than Keaton did, or really more big plays probably than anybody. So it's not that Thunder can't be fast, I guess. It's just Thunder can deliver a little bit more of a blow. But the thing that's so unique about Raji and Keaton is they're like best friends. They help each other out all the time. They're just the best of guys, really. They're just the best teammates. They're so unselfish. And, they just really, really are team type players. And then they really have all the skills that a running back need, in that they can run with the ball. They've got good vision. They've got good balance. They're both tough guys. They both can catch the ball out of the backfield. They've both done that for us last year. And they're both very capable blockers. Now, as freshmen, that is not unusual for that to be the biggest thing they've got to improve on. And that's really true this year. They did get exposed some last year. Cincinnati, a couple other teams really challenged them. They study your protections, and you try to not let them, know how you're going to protect, but it's impossible not to keep the backs in blocking if they bring enough guys, and they can always bring enough guys to keep your backs in, make them block. And they did expose them a little bit on that, you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't so much of a physical thing. I think it was just a deal of technique and them just having to learn how to get in there and block some of the guys that are so big and so fast at this level that you don't see that in high school. And those guys probably never have to block in high school, because why would you have them blocking when you'd rather give them the ball all the time? So that's the thing this spring that Coach Foster really, really hammered home with both of them is, if you want to live up to your potential, which they do, they have desires to go play at the next level. They're going to challenge you. You're going to have to step up in there and block those linebackers. So we're looking for them to be a lot better at that this year.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about certainly about Pop McKay. Your thoughts?
Man. Pop is another guy that's going to fit in just great, because he's got that great personality and he's just such a friendly guy when you meet him, and he just loves people. He likes being around people. Raji and Keaton really like him, as much. and yet he's a competitive guy. You know, that Pop's a good nickname for him because he got some pop. Now, I tell you, he can run. He's tough. He's physical. And you just can't have enough good players. No team does. You know, Alabama doesn't have enough good ones because you're always one play away from somebody getting injured. And just because those guys had great freshman years, you know, it's like CJ. CJ got some hamstring problems this year. He was slowed up a little bit. So you've got to build depth there. I don't think there's any position even close to what the running backs as far as punishment and the pounding and what they have to go through a season of all those people hitting you and then you having to block and all that. So you need more than two. You really do. And I think Pop obviously has got a chance to come in and maybe win that third position. He's here now. What I've seen of him is he's not going to disappoint.
Coach, you have the luxury of having a guy like Holt Naylor, started 20 games in your system, entering year 3 now. So just talk about Holton's development. Earlier you talked about him trimming down, being more lean, more mobile in the pocket and outside of it. So just talk about Holton's progression.
Well, you know, Holton is, you can sit here and do a whole show on Holton, but there, you know, and everybody knows that. And, you know, he's a favorite. He's a coach's favorite. That's for sure. No kid works harder. No kid's more committed to the situation. Nobody's a better person, a human being than Holt Naylor's. I really feel like, you know, Holton's got to make that step this year, though. You know, me and him have talked about that a lot, to that elite player, because at times he's been that guy. There have been times when he gets on a roll, and I think he's the best quarterback in the league. And that's saying something in our league because we got some pretty good quarterbacks. What we got to do is we've got to just eliminate some of those mistakes, some of those bad plays. You know, I think he threw 9 interceptions last year, and they all come in waves. They all come in the same game when he throws 2 or 3, you know, in that game. And what that comes from, though, is just trying to win and not wanting to give up, which those are all really good traits that you want. But he's got to learn that he can't just do it all on his own. I think, unfortunately, when he took over as the quarterback here, you know, the team wasn't having very much success. So it was just do whatever you can do. When you get good plays, make the good plays. Don't worry about the bad plays. Now we're trying to win those games, not just compete with those teams. We're trying to win those games. We're trying to close out those games. And those mistakes are what make the difference sometimes in the game. So we got to eliminate those things, and then we got to keep those successful plays. So he can run. I know a lot of people thought we didn't run him as much last year. Some of that was by design. Some of that was design of the defense because they thought he was going to run. So they can put somebody on the quarterback, you know, in the option, because the zone read is nothing but an option. And so they can play quarterback players, and they did. They kept somebody on him. I think that's one of the reasons that Raji and Keaton had some running room sometimes, because they've got 1 and 2 guys waiting for him to pull that ball and run with it. And so now we're outnumbering them, you know, on the run with the running back having the ball. So some of that's the defense doing that. Some of that because, you know, we were inexperienced at quarterback behind him. I think the Navy game, you know, kind of showed that, though. I thought Mason did a great job of doing what he was ready to do. He just wasn't ready to go win that game. I don't think he lost the game for us. He just wasn't ready to go win the game, whereas I think Holton would have been able to do that, and that would have surely been a win for us. So we did have to be a little bit cautious about how much are we going to ask him to run, you know, in certain situations. We'd like to run him more. The thing that I did think, though, as time had gone on, he's improved in so many things. Posture in the pocket, presence in the pocket, his throwing motion, just his accuracy, all those things. He's just done a great job of working so hard to improve. But I did start to notice that I thought he was losing some of his explosiveness and his quickness a little bit. And so we really tried, because he'll go out and throw 14 hours a day. Tried to emphasize in the off season, let's don't just throw all the time. Let's put a little bit more into our conditioning. Let's lean out a little bit. Let's see if we can get back to that first step, second step quickness that I think that maybe you had earlier in life you've lost. once he got rolling, he was still running pretty good. I think you see the Temple game, he runs a quarterback draw. It goes about 70 yards. Once he got rolling, he could still run with everybody. But I just thought he was a little bit slower. I thought there were a few guys hitting him in the pocket that I thought he might be able to avoid if we could lean him out a little bit and concentrate on him being a little bit more explosive. So that's what we're looking for this season out of him.
Coach, you mentioned the Navy game, which makes me think of near misses last year, Navy. I don't even want to talk about the Tulsa game. I'm sure you don't want to think about it. We were close last year to putting up a record that, I think closer to what you guys want and what the fans want. We were pretty close last year to being a 500 football team. Yeah. I think closer than most people realize. Without the obvious answer, you want to win every game and go 12-0. Well, I mean, what is a realistic expectation for this year? Obviously, you're not going to concede defeat to anybody, but
no.
I mean, what would you say is a realistic expectation, or do you don't even want to put it out there like that?
I don't know that in our system we may be thinking those terms. I agree with what you're saying so much, though, and I'll lead up to back to your question, in that we were very close last year, and that's probably the thing that's most frustrating. Yet we're trying to turn it into something that's a positive. In that we could have easily been 5-3, as a conference record right there with the Tulsa, I guess, and which Tulsa was a win. We all know that. And the Navy, which we think probably could have been a win with Holt there. But that's part of the game. That is part of the game. But we have closed the gap. I think that the thing that happened last year was there were two games that just really kind of ruined the season for us as a coaching staff and maybe as a team. The Georgia State debacle, that was just a horrible display that we just can't get the taste out of our mouth, and how poorly that we played that day. I think we just geared up so much for the first part of the season, the Central Florida, and I don't know, you just go into a situation, and Georgia State was a pretty good team, and as the year went on, kind of showed that. But we just played really, really poorly in a game that we felt like we should have won. And then we played really bad up at Cincinnati, after having really taken them to the wire the year before. Boy, they had us red lettered last year. You want to go to a bowl game. I think that'd be a huge step to get back to playing at bowl game level. I thought we could have probably been there last year with a little bit of luck. But the biggest thing this year is, now, whoever makes the schedule out around here is really just not that kind sometimes to the coaches. We got to get off to a great start. We got to play well early. Appalachian State and Charlotte's going to be exciting. Man, they're a good football team, because they win 9-10 games every year. And that's not just against Sun Belt competition. That's against everybody they play, South Carolina, North Carolina, whoever they play. And then we have the Gamecocks coming in here to Dowdy-Ficklin, game 2. And, I know we were all hoping for a night game there. We got the noon game or whatever, but either way, we'll have to be ready to play. And then you've got Marshall, who again is a program that's just used to winning. And when you're used to winning and you've got that winning culture, you're hard to beat, especially at home. So that'll be a huge challenge for us as well. So, that's why this summer is really so important. That the one good thing is when you have a tough schedule early, your kids are motivated in their workouts in the summer because they know they got to be ready.
Coach, as we're wrapping this up, we had a question from Heath Truelove, one of our loyal listeners and viewers. He says, does Coach Kirkpatrick think that this is the year when the offense comes together and starts putting up numbers like they did at JMU?
Well, I do. And I don't know if I'm just optimistic or if I'm just crazy or just whatever, but we've done it in spurts. The last game of the year, SMU, I don't know if anybody could have played a better first half than we played. That, what I'm saying? Some of the kids were like, don't wake us up. We thought we were dreaming, whatever. We've done that. We did that against SMU the year before. We did that against Cincinnati. I thought at South Florida we were pretty good, earlier in the year. We've just not been very consistent, and that's the big thing. And some of that's, just personnel, maybe. Some of that's just doing the system right. Some of that's we just got to do a better job as coaches, I guess, getting them ready to go. But I know our kids are optimistic. I think they know the system. And I think that we're going to play some good complementary football because I think we'll be good equally offensively, defensively, and in the special teams, which is what it takes to kind of get to that next level.
And Coach, I have one final question for you. I have an 8-year-old son, Alexander, who wants to play football. and he's begging me to play. Is it too early for him to play, or is it the earlier the better?
If you're really asking for a personal decision, I don't think that the tackle or the contact, I think, is probably a little too early, and that you don't want to get them turned off too quickly. And sometimes that can be some bad experiences. And football's it's a hard game. It's a hard game to coach, and you got to know that those kids are getting the right type of development. But now some kind of playing, if it's another kind of football or whatever, where you're still working those skills, then I don't think it's ever too early.
Well, Coach, as always, we appreciate your time, and I know you've been working hard. In June, you had some relaxation. You're back in the office now. We're looking forward to that big game at Bank of America against Appalachian State. Thank you for being back with us with the Pirates the last few years, and we're looking forward to great things in 21.
Well, I appreciate you guys and all y'all do, and your loyalty and your passion for East Carolina football, and we can't wait.